Hey everybody, welcome back to another early morning barking podcast talking about BPD and NPD by somebody that has both. I have to remind myself to slow down for these because I do the fast YouTube talking and I don't have to do that here. You've downloaded me, you're going to listen. What are you going to do? So this week I'm talking about NPD and the need for excessive admiration, which is a fun one, isn't it? I had this a lot. This is a big one for me, as evidenced by the fact that I have a podcast you're listening to, based on a YouTube channel you've seen, that has an accompanying TikTok and all of those other things, because I really want a lot of people to look at me and listen to me, as many as possible, ideally. And I want them to think I'm awesome. That's really the clear bit of it all. I'm just being perfectly honest with you here. That's how it goes. That's how it works. That's the need for excessive admiration. And there are a lot of elements of my life that are geared around that. You know, not only is this public persona of YouTube and podcasting and all of that sort of thing, but, you know, I play in a band as well. I do gigs. You know, I want to be on stage with a whole room full of people looking at me. And my narcissism extends to the band rather than me individually, so I don't need to be the guy at the front necessarily. As long as we're all up there, that's good. That's fine. And, you know, that excessive admiration comes. Now, there is a downside to this, obviously, because not everybody wants to give you excessive admiration. It's not something that comes really easily from people. Why would it? You've got to give them a reason to admire you. And 9 times out of 10 with the narcissism, if people dig deep enough, and it's not always all that deep they need to dig, then you're not someone that they want to give that admiration to. Eventually all heroes fall, and we have more flaws than most. And in today's world, when the smallest flaw can destroy you, it's very easy to be destroyed. And the tantrums that come from that, the rebellion, the anger, the rage, and then ultimately the total feelings of bereftness were we to not get this excessive admiration. It's what we need. We thrive on it. It's like food. That's how it works. And when we don't get it, we get hungry for it. And sometimes when we think we're going to get it and we don't get it, then we get angry. Just like you would if you were hungry and somebody said, "Come here, I'll give you a meal." And they went, "Nah, nothing for you." You'd be furious. And the same thing happens. Only no one offers to give you excessive admiration, do they? There's not that offer of, "Would you like some admiration? I have it in excessive amounts. Come here." That doesn't happen. That's not a thing. But there are people in our lives that we can expect to admire us massively. Friends, family, loved ones, anyone we encounter. People that I talk to, people that listen to my stuff now. If you're listening to this, I want you to admire me. And you may not. You know, I don't know. You may not. It's entirely probable. And I've learned to live with that, right? I'm not going to lose my mind over that one. I'm not going to get upset about that, because why would I? Thankfully, several years of therapy have pushed me to the point where I can deal with that. But also, my narcissistic aloofness helps me deal with it. You know, criticism, well, I can take criticism. I can handle that. And I, in fact, welcome constructive criticism. I always do. I always have. Because why would you not? You want to get better. And to hear from the people that you're trying to impress one way or another on how you can do that better is only good for you. So you should listen to constructive criticism. But sometimes you get awful feedback that is not helpful, that is just somebody trying to be horrible or whatever. And you could let that cut you down. You could let that become a narcissistic injury. But I'm too aloof for it. You know, as I sit here recording this episode right now, I've recently put out a short or a TikTok about hypersensitivity and unwanted crying. And of all the videos I've released, and I've been doing this sort of 2-3 years now, 2 and a bit years probably, of I've never had really any negative comments. There's probably some, 1 or 2 scattered throughout. Really, it's not been bad. But this video where I talked about crying got a couple of just unpleasant comments. And first of all, I find that more sad than anything else. Like, you know, of all the things I could admit to doing or thinking or saying, all the bad things I've talked about. I mean, go and watch my Dark Thoughts video. That's something to think about. But no, the thing that really upsets people is when I talk about crying. And I find that in and of itself a very sad thing. But do I care that these people have had a go? No, do I? I don't at all. They're plankton in the world. They are like algae. They are pond scum. That's the level that I view them on. And that's not the level I view my audience on. No, not at all. It's the level they've put themselves on. Once you know somebody's working on that level, I've abandoned, you know, that's a straight up discard. Right there. You know, I think some people would try and do the bigger thing and try and pull people back, try and have a conversation. I don't care. I'm not here for that. And so their words are meaningless to me. Because that need for excessive admiration gets fed enough, for a start. It gets fed enough-ish. I want more, but it gets fed enough for me to not really tantrum over the little things. And this staying aloof of it above the people that don't admire me. It is a defense mechanism, but also it's realism. It's one of those times when a narcissistic almost lack of emotion allows you to be stoic and stick with what you believe and do your thing regardless of what anybody says to you. That in itself can be a good thing, I suppose. One of those weird things with the narcissism. I'm getting off topic now, aren't I? Ignore me. Sorry. But this need for excessive admiration is somewhat debilitating, because I'm still here doing this. Now then, why am I still here doing this? Because this is a problem, right? I have no money. I make no money doing this. I am really struggling. Really seriously struggling. I should give this up and go and get a real job. Whatever that means. I should do that. Because this isn't paying the bills. And I lose sleep over it. All that kind of thing. And this was the case back when I was doing podcasting as well. It wasn't paying the bills properly and that sort of thing. I was constantly poor. I was constantly without. And that caused problems in my life. Massive problems. But I couldn't stop doing it. Because what if I go and do something else and nobody watches? What if I go and do a normal thing and no one cares and it makes me just like the rest of everybody else? Because there's so many people out there that I don't think about. All the people of the world, I don't think about them day to day. There's only a few people you think about. I mean, you have your immediate circle of people in your life. But then, like, sort of beyond that, there's very few people you think about except the people who put themselves up front. The people who stand and say out loud, everybody look at me. For one way or another, whether they're on television for something or in a film or in the, on YouTube, whatever. These are all people who've decided I should be looked at, listen to me. And enough of us have said, yeah, okay. And I want to be thought about. I want to be that part of that. I want to be something that people think of when they like, what am I going to do? What am I going to watch? What am I going to? Oh, Rich is there. That's what I want. That level of admiration, because it feels like without it, I'm invisible. And not just that not that I don't exist, but that there's no point to me. Which comes across as horrible. Because am I effectively sat here saying that unless you're like famous, there's no point to you? And I'm not saying that at all. It's just how I feel about myself. It is an entirely internal thing. And yes, of course, you could mix in a little more psychopathy, a little more lack of empathy, a little less emotion. You could add a little lack of understanding in the world, and this could come out really horrible. That you could become someone who genuinely doesn't value people who aren't known for one thing or one reason or another. I feel like I've seen a Dr. Phil clip about something like this. Of some kid saying, no, I don't talk to my family because they don't have enough followers. That kind of thing. That's where that leads to, right? That's where that goes. And that's not a viable way of living your life. I feel somewhat off topic again. And so I want that admiration. I want to be remembered, to be known, to make a dent in the world, as Steve Jobs would have said. He did say it. Otherwise, I'm just existing, right? I was just like another thing. I was another ant in an army of millions. And that scares me. And this this sort of mixes in with some entitlement, doesn't it? Like, who the hell am I? Why should anyone admire me? Why on earth should I be above or anyone else, or remembered for longer than anyone else, or anything like that? What's so special about me? And I don't have a good answer for that. I just want to be looked at. I've not worked hard at something else and everybody looks at me because of that thing. Like, I play in a band. Am I the best bass player? No, I am an average to slightly above average bass player. I am nothing special. And that could be a thing. The number of people I watch on YouTube who I watch because they do a thing. And that's why I watch them. Do I have that? I mean, am I lucky I just stumbled onto mental health problems to talk about? Because otherwise, what the hell have I got? Now, this is the narcissistic bringing down of oneself. You're listening to it. Because that truly is that fear inside. Look at me because I'm nothing. Look at me because I feel I'm not good enough. If you look at me, if you admire me, it validates me. I am real, I am here, and I am worthwhile. Because that's the greatest fear behind it all, isn't it? That's the thing. For every narcissistic trait, look up what it's a protection from. And a need for excessive admiration is clearly protection from feeling like you're worthless. That's what it's someone saying over and over, there, it's all right, you're brilliant. You need that consolation, that reassurance that you are in some way worthwhile because you don't feel like you are. And so ultimately this need for excessive admiration, it can come out in a very obnoxious way. It can come out and make somebody very unpleasant. But it is such a cry for help. When you need that, it's because something is missing. Something isn't there and you need that external form of validation. It isn't there internally. See, the truth is, that's why most people aren't famous. Isn't it? It's like when people think of being famous, do they mostly think of being rich? Is that really what they're thinking of more than, say, the notoriety? I want to be a famous pop star. Or do you just want to be rich? Do you want a lot of money? Because I think for most people it's that. They're not really that bothered about being well known and being famous. It was something that always confused me. When you encounter people who don't want to be on camera, who don't want to be on microphone, who don't want to be heard, why would you not want that? It confuses me. But that's why. People don't need that external validation. Maybe some of them are shy, whatever. There are exceptions, But people don't need that fame, that notoriety. They're happy just living their lives because they feel good about themselves. They feel worthwhile. And that's what we as narcissists are lacking. So ultimately, with all things, it ends up sadly. And a description of a trauma response. But there you go. That's NPD for you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. And go and check out my main channel, Early Morning Barking, on YouTube, at Early Morning Barking on TikTok as well. And there's lots of other podcasts. Actually, there aren't. This is like number 13. There's 12 previous podcasts. So go and listen to those as well. And visit me over on patreon.com/earlymorningbarking for some extra videos that aren't on YouTube and all that kind of thing. Until next time, you take care. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.